everybody. Welcome back. Another episode of Unwired Appalachia. And this might be the first time you see Rick Bentley, or it might be the second time in 2 weeks, but you're going to see him 2 straight weeks. For those that don't know, we did an interview with Kid, but this is going to be about Rick and UPIKE's spring athletics season. I mean, Rick, softball, baseball just wrapped up last week. Just kind of give us the rundown of everything that happened in Kingsport for the baseball and softball teams. I know softball team had a really good season. Baseball had a good run as well.
Yeah, they did. Softball won 29 games this year, school record for most wins. And then I sat down when we got back from Kingsport and looked at it, and it's like when you combine baseball and softball wins, Johnson had the most in the league, and then I think Milligan was second. We were third,
Mhm.
but both of our teams won 29 games. So when you get 58 wins in a spring, that's pretty good. And then like we're waiting right now to find out about the women's golf team. We're almost 100% sure they're going to the national
Mhm.
tournament, and that'll be the first time in school history that we've had a golf team go to the national tournament. So it's been a great spring for us, no question about it.
Yeah, and you mentioned, golf going on as well. How many sports are going on in the spring for you guys right now? And how do you keep them all straight? Because I can't keep them all straight, and I've been doing this for a while. I don't know how you keep them straight either.
Well, we're right now. We graduated already, and we still have three sports going right now,
Mhm.
and it's just there's a lot to it. But in the spring we had baseball and softball. We had both track and fields. We had both golfs, both tennises. There's just a lot of sports going on, and it's a good thing because we got a lot of opportunities for kids to come here and do different things. And we're excited about all that. And then you get to the postseason, and our men's tennis team had a good run. Our they've had a really solid season. And then, baseball and softball thing. And this third year in a row, Randy, that I've gone down to Kingsport and did the stats
Mhm.
for the baseball tournament. I love doing that because the AAC is one of the elite conferences in the country in baseball.
Mhm.
Because 2 years ago, there was there was a game played in the national tournament. The winner went to the finals. It was two teams from our league. Tennessee Wesleyan played Reinhardt for the right to go on. Now, those teams probably played half a dozen times that year. They played twice in
Mhm.
Kingsport. They played three times in the regular season. And just to think about that, and so we get to see the conference tournament, which is a lot like going to
Mhm.
the national tournament, and we don't have to go all the way to Idaho to see that. It's a really good time. There's just a tremendous amount of talent, and what we're doing is slowly but surely we're building up to that point. We
Mhm.
finished fifth in the league this year, so it's been a good run for us.
Yeah, a lot of good things going on at UPIKE. I mean, people don't know how successful it is and how good that play is. For anybody who's not been down there for that conference tournament in baseball, softball, why should they take that trip out? What is that, hour and a half tops?
Yeah.
Why should they take that next spring maybe and go check those guys out?
My drive from the house to the field is an hour and 40 minutes. I mean, it's not, and really all you do is get on 23 South and
Right.
you're there.
Yeah.
It's a really nice way to go. But there's just like you get to watch our team play, and you get to see how they do. But there's just so much talent out on the field. I'll tell you this: we start the tournament on Tuesday. One of the things that we do is pick our tournament team. When I started sketching out names, and I only took the teams that made it to Friday, so there's 6 teams I'm considering, right? There were 31 names on my list, and I only had 2 pitchers. I didn't
Wow.
even go through the pitching side of it.
Wow.
That's how good these guys are in this league. They're just incredibly talented. You'll see guys from the teams in this league, they'll show up on the draft. They'll get free agent contracts. There's just a lot of talent in this league. And the other thing about it is, like, I get to know all these coaches, and they just hang around there, and it's just such a good time to talk to them, get to know them. And then we start out on Tuesday, and on Tuesday, I make an announcement in the seventh inning of a game. The coaches in the next game, please bring your lineup sheets. Well, by Thursday, they're just bringing them in.
Mhm.
You don't have to do that anymore because they know what they're doing. They're pros at what they do, and it's just such a good time. I'll tell you this: the last game that we played down there, Cody walked in. He had both lineup sheets and gave them to me. So it worked out. They're just a lot of fun to be there. But there's just so much talent. And we play in Hunter Wright Stadium, which is where the Kingsport Mets
Mhm.
played for so many years. They've turfed that field now. It's a fantastic place. We got down there on Tuesday, and we were able to play but there'd been so much rain the night before that softball's playing on a dirt field, and they didn't get started till 7 o'clock that night.
Oh my.
So when our 4 games, you know how long 4 baseball games could take, 4 games ended, I looked on my computer, last thing I looked at, we're up 1-0 in the 7th. So I shut my computer down and drove across town. By the time I got over there, we're at 5-0, and I hung out and watched the bottom of the 7th just to support those girls. And it was just such a great time to be down there. And that's the other thing. If you want to come down and watch our teams play, like it's about a 5-minute drive from one field to the other. It's really smooth.
Oh, okay.
And
That's not bad at all.
no, it's really nice to do. And so I did that that night and got to see them play again and just be there to support Robert and those girls.
Yeah, and I got to see the UPIKE women a couple times this year. Seems like Robert did a really good job of building a good core
Mhm.
of local kids, and then adding on and putting the
Was
pieces around them. Just talk about the job he did this year, and because I mean it's a lot of talent in these mountains, and he's got the girl from Perry Central. I've seen her.
Mhm.
I think Ashlyn Dixon or
Ashland
Alyssa
Dixon.
Ashlyn.
Yes,
Ashlyn Dixon, she's making the impact.
no question.
The girl from Lawrence County, I think she's a sophomore, making the
Yep.
impact. Girl from Wolf County. I mean,
Mm.
it seems like on and on and on. Seems like he's doing a really good job of finding the talent in the mountains.
Danny Crum, the girl from Lawrence County,
That's her name.
she was first team all conference this year as a sophomore. When she's a senior, she'll be in running for player of the year. I
Mhm.
mean, that's just how good she is. She might be next year. She's just a really talented player. And here's the thing, Randy. She plays catcher and she plays right field because you can't have a catcher catch both ends of a doubleheader all season long. It's just not going to work. Well, we have another player who does the same thing. They go back and forth. The other girl, she's from from Nicholasville down there. So
Mhm.
they're just and there's not a handful of difference between the two of them. Danny hit a little better this year, and then by the time tournament got going, they were both going, and there's just a lot of talent. Like you said, we got Alexis Emery is our shortstop. She's from North Carolina. It's not a bad drive here. In fact, her grandparents, her parents were here for senior day, and I got to get to know them. They own a sporting goods store, and they made up some UPIKE softball stuff, and so I was out there buying UPIKE softball stuff off of them. There's good people to have around, and a lot of good talent in this team. And here's the other thing, Randy: we had the best season we've ever had. We lost 3 players. One of them didn't play this whole year. The other 2 were pitchers. So we gotta get better in the circle, but we've got our entire starting lineup coming back next year. It's
That's
it's gonna be a fun year again.
that's a scary thought too, and I guess not for Robert. That's a great thought for Robert, but
Yeah.
scary for his opponents.
Right. We had an interesting conversation the first time we were on the field this year, because you remember what the winter was like. First time we're on the field, we're playing Reinhardt conference doubleheaders because we got snowed out a couple of doubleheaders that we had scheduled before that. So we played them to open. About a month later, he told me that he got a phone call from Reinhardt's coach. And he was talking to one of the other coaches in the league. And Reinhardt's coach said, I just want to tell you, I'm glad I played Pikeville when I played them
Mhm.
because they're scary. And, so we made the run. We finished fifth in the league and got down there to Kingsport. And, we wound up being fifth in the league in the tournament too. So it was just a good run for us and good experience for those girls. And now they can go back next year. They'll be ready to roll.
Yeah, and with the baseball team and baseball and softball, I always tell people they probably hate me because when they play, it's during my production time.
Yeah,
So
no question.
if I get there, it's usually 2 or 3 times a year, and I'm like, I wish I could get there more. But Rick does a without Rick, they would really, really hate me because he gives us all the press releases and all that. But I don't even think I got to see the baseball team this year because of rain or whatever.
Yeah,
The few times I go, so somebody like me who didn't get to see the baseball team this year, how good were they? Because they had a really good season as well.
they had a really good run. We had some experience coming back this year, just some real talent on that team. We had a kid, Cody's Canadian.
Mhm.
Well, so we've got a lot of Canadians on our team. I think there's 11 of them on the roster, and they're such good players. Our designated hitter who wound up being our catcher when our catcher got hurt, so he caught in the tournament. This is a guy who's from Las Vegas who came here and loved it, just absolutely loved it. Hit the ball like crazy. There's just we've got the best player on the team was Riley Polino, who was a all conference player for us, our starting center fielder. 2 years ago, he was a pitcher and center fielder and was the newcomer of the year in the conference, and just an incredible talent. Hit almost 400 this year. Just unbelievable player. And but again, just like we were talking about Kent, they're just such good kids. You know, you get to get around them, get to know them, and like I will go down sometimes, just walk through the dugout before the game, and they're all, "Hey, how you doing? What's up? You need help up there?" and that sort of stuff. I get that from them all the time, and just a bunch of good kids, and just a lot of fun to be around. I'll tell you this one thing we've done on our campus. We don't have any bad people. Not many. Like you have 600 student athletes. There's going to be one or two. There's no question about it. But for the most part, they're just good people to have around.
Yeah, and all this stuff is going on too. And then you got Coach Phipps, who's has his spring game and done his workouts and all that. So you're probably being involved with this with the football and knowing that the recruiting and stuff is going on. Talk about how busy that is trying to keep pace with even little things like that because people don't realize how busy it is to track the football team and their progress while everything else is going on as well.
Yeah, football was like they took it easy on me with the spring game this year because my assistant left, so I was doing everything by myself. So I didn't do a lot of that. But I can tell you this: um, there's something happened on TikTok. Somebody was looking at all our uniform combinations, and they called us the Oregon of
Yeah.
NAI football. We had 2,500 players who RSVP'd for our spring game.
Wow.
Now, obviously, they didn't all show up, but we had the bleachers full, and it was all people, all potential recruits coming in to see what they're doing there. They do such a great job of promoting that. They do a better job of promoting their team than anybody around. Those assistant coaches, they're young and full of vinegar. Yeah, they just get after it, and they love what they're doing and letting people know about it. And it was a good run for them in the spring. Still looking for a couple of positions. We're not completely locked in on what we're
Mhm.
doing right now, but it's been a good year for us athletically. There's been a lot of positive things happen, and a lot of cool things that happen that most people don't see that I get to be a part of and get to see and that sort of thing. Then the teams, the people that they know about, like Ken and like Allie Stone,
Mhm.
who got hurt in November, and she finished out the season, but she was a shell of herself,
Yes.
and she knew. But here's the thing about Allie: she knew, and she thought, okay, I've got to do other things to help my team right
Mhm.
now, and so she did. She did everything she could because the thing is, like Allie's game that she got hurt in, that was the limit for getting a red shirt year for next year. Allie didn't want a red shirt year for next year. She's got plans, like she's going to PT school
Mhm.
and she's going to do all this stuff, and all these things are happening for her off the court, and she knew that, so she wanted to come out and play and help her team the best she could. And just having somebody like that around, I mean, you can never go wrong with having
No.
Allie Stone on campus.
No, I always tell people, they don't always realize it because, sometimes the NAI level doesn't get the respect that it deserves sometimes. But, I always tell people, you got some of the best college athletes in the country at that level
No question.
right here at Allie Stone. I mean, before she gets injured, arguably the best player in
No,
the nation, Keaton Warwick's, Bradley Bunch. I mean, you go down the line, there are so many talented players. And then you look at the football side, just kind of talk about that because it's everywhere on this
well, I can
campus.
tell you this: Allie Stone, who was about this tall, I love to aggravate her about it, but she's about that tall. And we there was a Conference USA school that was trying to get her to bounce 3 years.
Mhm.
Every summer they would be like, "Hey, you need to come play for us. You need to come play for us. You need to come play for us."
And she was one of those hidden gems that
Yeah,
nobody
no
knows
question about it.
about.
No question about it. In fact, when she got here, the first 2 or 3 games we played that year, she didn't really play much. She played, but she didn't play much.
Mhm.
And then we played Rio Grande at home on a Saturday. I remember this because I was there. I was doing the PA because we had a football game going on at the same time, and we Rio Grande, top 10 team in the country. They got ahead of us pretty good. Coach put her in the fourth quarter, and she went nuts, and it didn't stop until she retired. Like that, she just went crazy on for us. And then, like you talking about, when we were talking about Bradley Bunch, we talking about him with Ken, and what a career he's had, two-time Player of the Year, and all this sort of stuff. And then you've got football guys like you got to see the talent that we had. The quarterbacks that we've run through, and just it's insane to look at the things. And then the other, like we've got a track and field guy right now who goes to Division 1 meets and wins some of those the hammer throws and all those, the shot put and discus. And all, it's insane to see these kids. And that kid, his dad is the color commentator from Marshall Radio.
Oh, wow.
So just these are just great kids and great stories that we got to tell that, that not many people get to see. You know about some of them. I'm sure you didn't know about Zeke Hagley, and that's okay because it's my job to get their stuff out. But now that's a kid who they're going to be in Michigan this weekend competing
Mhm.
because it's the last opportunity to qualify for the Nationals, and regardless of what happens up there, he's going to the Nationals.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, and even on top of that, I mean, we had a national champion in dance.
yep,
What was it? Less than a month ago,
yep,
and those what those two girls are from Prestonsburg. The
yes,
coaches are local too. I
yep,
mean, there's so much local talent that's on this hill. That's why I think these podcasts like this sometimes is important
I
for
agree.
our readers because we only got so much space in the newspaper. Like
Sure.
we try to tell the stories, but sometimes we get to sit down and talk and highlight some other stuff that maybe we don't get to in ink. So
Yeah.
can you speak on that as well?
Let me say this. One of the best things that you guys do is I'll see your socials and it'll be like, okay, so we went and covered this softball game. Well, on your socials, this is what I see. Here's a link to the pictures we took there. So you may only use one or two in your paper, but
Mhm.
parents, grandparents can go on there and look and see. They might see 100, 150 pictures from a game, and like those are available to them. You guys make sure that those are available. You do a really good job of that stuff, Randy. I just I can't compliment you guys enough for what you do for the local sports scene here. But you're right. Our dance team, Hannah, the coach, she was a dancer for us from Phelps.
Mhm.
She was a finalist in Miss Kentucky pageant, a singer like you wouldn't believe. Like she sings the anthem sometimes at our games, and we have such a good time with her. And then those they only took two sisters, twins from Prestonsburg, who went down there. And I would have thought, two girls competing against all these squads and all that stuff. Well, according to Hannah, the people who ran that competition loved that there were just two of them and how good they were, and they wound up coming out with a national championship. And then of course, our women's bowling team, they won a national championship again. It's like 6 or 7 for them now that they've won, and it's been so much fun to watch and to follow and see how our teams are doing. And then, the other thing that we did, I didn't do a very good job of publicizing, was uh, the national singles championships.
Mhm.
We had a girl make it to the national championship in that.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's insane the level of talent that we have here. And what we found is that recruiting creates recruiting.
Mhm.
And it's like I used to say about one of the local high schools, like kids want to go to school there, like Philip Haywood.
Mhm.
Kids want to go to school, play football for Philip Haywood. So, like, they don't have to go recruit,
No.
and like it recruits for
Mhm.
itself. And that's kind of what we're seeing on a lot of our level here. And that's why we have 2,500 people showing up for the spring game because, we've been pretty good and we got nice looking uniforms and we do a good job of publicizing that stuff.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is we like there's so many sports up there, and haven't even touched on half of them
Oh,
probably.
yeah.
Your
That's so cool.
cheerleaders, your wrestlers, everybody. But I know we've probably about took up enough of your time. I know, but I'll ask you a couple more questions, maybe one more. You've been there for a while. You've seen the growth of this school, all the athletic programs. When you started, there's probably what 4 or 5 or 6.
Yep.
Now there's probably close to 30, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And
You're right. We had 4 sports the day I started. We started 2 more. I started August 1st. When school started in August, we started 2 more, so we had 6. Now we're at 26, 27 sports that we have, so yeah, you're right.
all the excitement. It seems like a lot of local kids who in the past, maybe say 10, 15 years ago, they were trying to go to bigger schools. Well, it seems like a lot of these kids who can play at the next level are sticking around. They're building a core, building something that means something here. When this, I'm not saying when or if or whatever, but Bear Mountain is coming at some
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
When that hits, what is that going to do for this athletic program and the growth of this, not just the athletics, but the school in general and the community? Because I think once that gets done and implemented, now I don't know a timeline. I'm not putting you on the spot for a timeline because
Well
that's probably more of a Coach Phipps question. So I won't put you on the spot with that. But where do you envision that taking everything?
well,
I will put you on the spot for that.
let me just answer part of that question for you. Burton Webb, the president, wants to play football up there, not this fall, next fall. So we'll
Mhm.
see. You know, like there's a lot of work got to be done, that sort of
Right.
stuff. And he understands that too. But you know, he would really like
Absolutely.
to see us get started at that point. But here's what's going to happen with that. Is it going to help football? Is it going to help baseball and softball and soccer is going to play up there and track and field? It's going to all those is going to play up there. But it's going to help everybody. It's going to raise everybody's awareness of what we're doing here. You know, you went to a signing the other day at Bible High School,
Mhm.
and I think there was 2 kids who signed at someplace other than UPIKE. So it's happening here
Out of
already.
12.
Yeah. So we had 10 of the 12. You're starting to see it already. But now let me tell you, when that gets going up there, I think that's going to be a difference maker. I think it's going to really raise our standing, our stature. I think it's already on the rise. I think we're doing a good job of hiring the right coaches to lead our programs and that sort of thing. And you know, like you take a guy like Clifton Williams. Can you beat it? Can you beat that guy? I mean,
Just
he's unbelievable.
and such a mind for basketball, and it doesn't matter what level.
Mm-mm.
You just sit there and talk. If you like talking basketball, find this guy out
Yeah.
and pick his brain for 2 seconds, and you will be
Listen, I
impressed.
know you're doing your own podcast, but Gary Justice sat down and interviewed those guys through the course of basketball. So you just find one of those with
Mhm.
Cliff Williams. It's unbelievable to listen to them talk about basketball.
Yeah.
He has such a different way of looking at it and seeing it than the rest of us do. But you're right; it's going to help those sports, but I just think it's going to raise the bar for everybody. You know, like a rising tide lifts all boats, right?
Mhm.
Well, that's what's going to happen here. I think I really believe that's going to be a big thing for us, and thank God that Burton Webb and a couple of those guys made the right calls, and our, you know, the head of our board of trustees just called a guy and said, "Hey, I was thinking about this property up here. You know anything about it?" He said, "Yeah, I happen to be sitting here with the guy that owns it. You want to talk to him?" And he put him right on the phone with him. And that's how it went. You know, Terry Dotson's done some miraculous things for us through the years in his time as the chairman of the board. But there's just a lot going on our campus, and I'm really excited about all of it. Not just the athletics side, but you know, we're getting ready to like when school starts back in August, that dental school will be open. And it's insane what we've been able to do on this campus. And I look back when I started here, there's about 500 students on
Mhm.
campus. And that's not when I was a student here, even farther back than that. There were about 500. When we started football, the first football season, we would list our enrollment as 550. Well, we've got 2,500 kids just on campus right now, you know, with these professional schools, and it's going to go up because we're expanding those as we go. And then, you know, when the dental program starts, it's really going to take off well too. Interesting story about the professional schools. I know I'm getting way too out of the way for you, but when they started the medical school, they interviewed. There's a national publication did a feature on it about what was going to happen, and he interviewed a guy at the University of Kentucky who taught in their medical school, and he was like, "You can't put a medical school in Eastern Kentucky. That'll never work. That's
Mhm.
stupid. That's the dumbest thing I ever saw." Okay, so then you wait 15 years or 20 years or whenever when we started the optometry program, the same magazine called the same guy at UK, and he said, "Listen, those people in Bible, they made believers out of me, man. They can do whatever they set their mind to. It's going to work up there." You had one more question for me. What was it?
Well, I mean, sports wrapping down, you get a little bit of break. When you get that break, how long do you get itchy and edgy and waiting for sports to come back? Because people ask me this stuff all the time, so I'll ask you because you do the same kind of stuff. And maybe I don't get as much as break from sports that you do, but when August, July, and August starts rolling around, how itchy are you? Or I don't know if that's the right word, but are you how
Well,
ready are you to get back into
let me say this. I'm going to guess that my wife is way more interested in me getting started back to the
it?
daily grind than I will be. I've learned, Randy, to enjoy the summer as long as I can enjoy the summer.
Mhm,
And then when we get rolling, let's go. You
mhm.
know, that's the way I try to do it. I'm better at it in some ways than I am in others, and I get that. But I just like I love what we do. I love getting to tell these kids stories. That's the thing about this column that I write for you guys.
Mhm.
I love telling somebody else's story. I
Yeah.
love shining a spotlight on them. It's why I've written 1,200 of those, and there's been about 2 of them about me.
Mhm.
I just don't do that. It's about everybody else, and that's kind of what we do. And so what I try to do through the course of a school year is shine a spotlight on these kids. And it's easy for Ken Warwicks and for Bradley Bunch and for those level of kids.
Mhm.
But we try to shine a spotlight on as many of those kids as we possibly can. And that's the love of it, man. That's what we do. That's why we do what we do is to so people know how these kids are doing and what kind of
Mhm.
people they are. And when we get the opportunity to sit on here and talk about Okay, yeah, he went 3 for 4 and he
Well,
hit 2 home runs, but what kind of person is he?
yes.
That's what we wanna let everybody know. Because nearly all these kids, man, they're the kind of people you want around your kids. That's how good they are, and
Yeah, and
that's
everybody
what
has
it's
a
about.
story to tell, right?
That's right, and most of our stories are good stories
Yep.
too,
Yeah.
and there's it happens occasionally, but, I just love being a part of it. Uh, you're right, it'll get about middle of July, it'll be right, okay, it's time to
Uh-huh.
start turning the page now. It's time to get going that way. And then, I'll go home one Friday in late July and I'll come back on Monday and there'll be 350 student athletes running around and they're coming in hugging me and getting to see them and
Yeah.
just talking to them about what they did this summer and that sort of stuff. You just can't beat that stuff, man. That's what it's all about.
Anything else you want to add that I might have missed before we wrap this up?
That's I just appreciate you letting me be on here and having Ken on and letting us talk a little bit about what's going on the hill because there's a lot of good stories happening on the hill right now.
Yes. We'll get you back on as soon as you want to come back on. Anytime you want to come, you're always welcome. Doors always open. Even if you want to co-host or whatever, uh, you want to take it over, do it
Nope,
because you
nope.
probably know more about some of the stuff than I do. But we'll have to get Coach Phipps on soon. We have to get Ty back on, Coach Williams back
Yeah,
on, all these people back on. So there's nothing else you want to say, we'll wrap this one up.
sounds good.
All
I
right,
appreciate
for
you having me on though.
yeah, absolutely. For Rick Bentley, Corey Vance, I'm Randy White. Check us out on our social medias on Wired Appalachia. We'll see you next time.